Ashland's growth has been fast, but the city's success is starting to expose its biggest weakness. Transit is overwhelmed. Buses are stuck in traffic, routes overlap, and moving between Birch Heights and Ashland Heights is almost impossible. The transit department has been adding more and more buses for each route, but for a city this dense, that's not sustainable. Healthcare isn't keeping up either. Ashland still doesn't have a full hospital, so when emergencies happen, people leave the city for treatment, and that's just not how a growing regional center should operate. The council's solution is ambitious. They want to build a new subway line to connect the two busiest districts, finally giving Ashland a transit backbone. Alongside that, construct the city's first major hospital, a facility built to handle the scale Ashland's reached. But we can't stop there. To keep up with demand, we'll expand our industrial, increase the residential density, boost elementary capacity, and much more. Also, the city can grow without falling apart. Let's jump in. Okay, welcome back to Ashland. And before we get too into the weeds, let me explain a few things. So we have our train station, and that's right here. I want to place a hospital right here, and it's going to be a very, very big hospital. And I also want to have a stop here. But for trains, I see it more as long distance. As it is right now, this train station goes to our external connections and comes all the way back into the middle of Birch Heights. And that's fine. The problem comes down to how do we continue this form of transit, but applicable to maybe even this area, or have a stop right here for our hospital. I can't seem to find a good answer aside from one thing, and that's to delete this train station and replace it with some subways instead. Because what we can do is we can take these subways, make maybe one stop here, one all the way down here, and I mean we have the perfect area for it too. It's right beside our bus station. There's nothing here anymore, and we need to find somewhere to end our train line. And looking at this area right here, I think it's the perfect space. I would love to use the Netherlands Trains asset, but it's not going to fit unless we rework our road. And even then, I'm not so sure that the terrain will allow it without kind of messing with it too much. But really the big thing for why I'm not going to use this is just due to the capacity. We really don't need 3 lines. The train station is ending here. So instead, we will use the old reliable, the elevated train station, because I think this is going to work best for our needs. Now to make this a million times easier, let's just slope up here. And we can see that even with anarchy off, we can still make it, which is exactly what I want to see, because that means we're in a good place. And the tricky thing about this asset is if we place it right here, we have to increase our elevation to actually connect in. So you'd have to find somewhere slightly below it. I'm going to place that right about there. I'm going to try and pull this back a bit, see if we can get it to fit a little bit more naturally. And even something like that gives us negative 6.3%, which is just way too tight. And this right here gives us negative 1.3%, which I'm pretty much happy with. And now for this one, we're going to send it straight, and then we'll also curve in somewhere down here. And that's going to do quite a few things to our retaining wall. And I can see that we're just barely high enough, maybe not even high enough. So we're going to increase this just the slightest bit. And this is actually a bit more difficult than I thought it was. So I remove these roads, and instead I'll take this and I'll constant slope to right about here, which should give us a nice flat road. And then from here, we can connect into this road, and that's only 4.8%, so not bad at all. And this should give us a much bigger retaining wall, so much more clearance to go over this. Okay, finally got it. It only took moving everything a million times and messing with things way too much, but I got it. I'm happy with it. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. Instead, I'm just going to connect this in and be happy with my result. I decided to give this second platform or the second track significantly more room than the one I gave over here because it was kind of tight. I mean, ideally, these would have went different directions. So this one would have curved down here, this one would have went forward, so on and so forth. And before we can place our elevated subway station, we actually need to add in one of our depots. And this is a tricky one for me. I'm not sure where to place this in a way that makes the most sense. I guess what we could do is place it somewhere along here and then have it feed directly into this line. For now, I'm just going to place this just so I have them unlocked, because I'd rather think about this way after. Now we can grab our elevated subway station. I had two ideas for where I wanted to place it. I felt like right here would be pretty ideal, but also at the same time it creates a different set of complications just because this road isn't wide enough, and we could start changing things and shuffling them around, but I don't really want to. I want to feel like this is an addition. This isn't something that was always here. And so there's going to be a bit of mess with it. I think what we could do though is pretty much place this right here, right on this edge. And now things are going to get a little bit tricky. We need to get to this height right here so we can give this building a road. And actually I kind of like how there's this under clearance right here, because that means we can use that as a way to come into this building. And right now, that's how this is going to be. It's definitely a bit messy, but again, this is one of those processes, so bear with me, please. In fact, the more I look at this, the more I think maybe this is a bit overkill. We don't really need the two lines. Really what we need is something much smaller, much more lightweight. And I feel like this right here is kind of exactly what we're looking for. Because if we place it somewhere around here, we can easily curve into this, which will be the future subway track. Now, in the most ideal world, you would be able to just cross right over and transfer into this. I'm wondering if there's a way we can make this happen. If I get this really close, and I guess the first question is, which way does this building face? Because that'll be very dependent on everything else we do. So I think it faces this way, and we should be able to place it right there. Now, how rough is that? It's honestly not that bad. I think it can actually work. We'll have to draw an invisible path over. Or I guess we can't really do that, can we? How would they get across? I guess that's where the challenge is. How do they get across from each platform? Well, either way, they can still come down to the bottom, come into these stairs, straight up to the platform, and they're directly into our subway station. So I think that should actually work much better than this. So we'll get rid of this building for now. Now let's set a road here. And I'm wondering, could we connect underneath? I think just maybe. We just might be able to make it work. As long as you're not a heavy truck, I think there should be tons of room. Actually, even if you're a truck, still tons of room. Yeah, that's not something we have to worry about, which is just amazing. Okay, so I don't want to see these notifications. And for now, this won't be going anywhere this way. I believe if we use the station track, it should get rid of it. And yes, it does. Amazing. It's not pretty, but it works. Now we need to take these two lines and connect them into this area. And I want to try and reuse this exact pattern, so I'm not trying to break anything. I really want it to be very, very similar to what was already here. I don't actually know if you could reuse these tracks or convert them over, but I'm going to pretend that you can. And that's what we're doing here. Now we'll grab everything from right here all the way to our train station and get rid of it. We're also going to get rid of our elevated train station because we don't need it anymore. And instead we'll replace this with an elevated subway station. Alright, now with this in place, we're going to drag out our elevated subway track. And I probably should have kept it in and done this in increments because it would have made it a little bit easier. Because now I'm just kind of guessing where it was. But I think right here. And there's definitely a small little curve. I think we'd probably snap onto the grid right here. Maybe just do something kind of like that. Not the most elegant curve. Definitely not very high either. Yeah, and there's no way this is high enough, so we actually need to increase our height. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start down here because it should be easier. And ideally, we should just be able to snap onto our zoning grid. And I think that's pretty much perfect for height. It should match exactly what we did before. And then as long as we watch where our pillars go, or manually re-add them in and fix them after, we should be fine right here. And as we approach this one, I feel like we'll have to be a little bit more careful. But no, it still comes out pretty good. We're not at a perfect straight angle with this connection. So instead, we'll go to 180. We'll make sure Snap the Guidelines is on. And then we'll click in the midpoint and then add the last point in. And there we go. And then we're going to do something similar with this one. We were at 10 meters. We'll stop right there. And this time I want to make sure it's a little bit longer so it has a bit more space. But I do think right about here is when we'll actually need to make that transition. And something kind of like that. Let's see. I feel like that looks overall much, much nicer than what it was before. Now, something I was debating was taking this one and sending it down Washington Street. We'd have to upgrade this to be a 4-lane, but I'm not exactly sure if this is really the absolute peak decision. This wouldn't really be going anywhere, and I wouldn't know where to send it after. So for now, I will connect it in. And if there is a better suggestion for what to do with these two lines that we have, or these two platforms, I'm happy to make some improvements. All right, now let's do a quick check to make sure that this is actually going to fit. And yeah, it starts to become a bit of a roller coaster here. So we need to drop our height down significantly. But in terms of the building, yeah, it definitely doesn't work with this building either. And that's because I think I was doing a bit more of a curve. So it'll probably be easier to actually start from here. And I believe when I originally did this, I only needed about 1.25 meters of elevation to make it work. And as long as we don't see the grass, and as long as we're decently above the road, I think we should be fine. Now we're gonna increase back up to 10 meters because I believe that should get us in a decent place. Surprisingly, there is a fair amount of elevation difference between these two. So we need to do a bit of increasing, but I think that overall looks really clean. And now, of course, this becomes an issue. We're extremely close to this building. And not the height of realism, but I will just give it a little bump over. And we will just say it was always like that. Yeah, definitely. Now, as we approach this area, things are going to change pretty significantly. So let's start by getting rid of all these trees. And for now, I'm going to consider pretty much all of this to be junk. I will keep this here though, just in case. And now we actually need to get our medical building in. So in our development tree, we're going to unlock the Disease Control Center because this is going to give us our biggest building yet, the Eastern European Disease Control. And just look at this building. I was wondering what to put here. And when I seen this building, I was like, this has to be it. It's just perfect. Really, this building is just grand. It takes up a really big footprint. And I'm just not seeing many buildings that do this. Like I can't even see one. I mean, maybe the shopping center has a few, but nothing quite like this. So for a hospital, I think this is an appropriate feel. And it's in a pretty good area too. We have both interchanges right here. We have access to some high density areas, and it's kind of like almost the heart of Ashland as a whole. Now we will need to do quite a bit of work though. And if I want a subway stop right here, essentially this is pretty much where I want the entire area to be leveled out to. Maybe even lower. We'll find out in a second. And now this is pretty dramatic in terms of terraforming or landscaping. I guess this would be more terraforming at this point in time. I don't think you could call this landscaping, but it is pretty dramatic. I think it should be fine though, given what this building would be. It's essentially a massive hospital. It's actually a disease control center, but in my head, this is a hospital. It functions as a hospital, has a massive patient capacity like a hospital, tons of ambulances, comes with 5 helicopters, and can store 3 tons of medical supplies, I believe it is. So this is a hospital, not a disease control center. We're gonna need to get really close to our highway, almost uncomfortably close, but we need to watch out for that blue circle because that's the space I believe that our helicopters will take off. And we'll place it down right there. And just wanna make sure nothing crazy is happening. A little bit of craziness happening here. I think it's something we can work with. And everywhere else should be looking good. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Okay, so now we gotta get a road in front of this building. That way it can actually function. And looking at the points, it seems like there's this parking lot, that's one of the main points, and then just this road right here. So aside from this, it shouldn't actually need anything else. For the meantime, I'm just gonna use a 4-lane divided road with trees and parking. I might change this after, but I wanna make sure that this has enough capacity, and I don't think a 2-lane road is gonna do it. And for now, I'm just gonna connect this right into here. Okay, and now with that done, this is when things start to get a little bit more chaotic and tricky. I don't really wanna lose our elevation here, and I had to do so much work right here that ideally I'd like to add the train back, and I wanna keep this elevated so we can send it further down and come somewhere around here. That way we can actually get beside our bus station over here. So for the meantime, I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna pull this all the way down. So right here, there was somewhat of a natural dip, I believe, at the start. And we'll honor that dip by sending in a road to connect directly into our hospital. And now we're gonna add our train back in, and we're gonna start from right here and just drag this all the way across. And now the terraforming that we had to do is definitely a little bit less dramatic. It's still dramatic, but it's a little bit less dramatic at the very least. So now let's grab this and we're gonna send this all the way down. Now I don't wanna end just here, so I wanna continue this down, but I wanna make sure we're gonna be able to clear this road without anarchy. And I know that we'd need 7.5 meters to do it, but what if we just took from right here and went to this side? Could we make it? Okay, that's actually really, really nice to see. So we would barely decrease or increase our height 1 to 2%, which is really good to see. So for now, I'm gonna add that in right there. It's not gonna be permanent, I'll fix it after, but that means that we need to decrease our elevation here. And I don't know if you can't tell, but I don't know all that much about subways or trains. I'm gonna assume that subways and trains follow very similar rules though, so I don't wanna make this too steep. So we're gonna turn constant slope on, and let's see if we can get something reasonable. And I'm gonna say that they don't carry any heavy cargo or heavy freight. So because of that, maybe we can make 4.2% work. All right, and then looking at some of our stop choices, we have our subway stations, we have our underground subway stations, we have our integrated stops, we have the integrated stop that actually is in the middle. And aside from that, there isn't really much. I don't exactly want this to be like a proper station, kind of like this is, but I also don't want to fiddle around with any of these integrated stops to try and make it seem a bit more simple. So even though this is probably going to be pretty overkill given that our subway station is just right here, maybe it's not as bad as I think it is, but it still is pretty close. I'm going to place this right here, and I could already see that the fence was starting to sag a bit, and the only way that I can think to solve this is to either move the road or just add a retaining wall. And being honest, adding a retaining wall is so much easier, and it doesn't matter because this building is backwards anyways. Really great start. Now before I do anything else, I just want to know, can we get this to connect in a reasonable way? Because right now it's a bit unreasonable. And I think we'd have to start our descent a bit earlier. And I feel like overall, that's not that bad. It could be worse. This will be where it gets a bit more tricky. And we'll add that in right there. And let's see, what was destroyed? What was destroyed? Okay, it's not this. it's not that bad. It's not that bad, I promise. So then the first question I have is, can we drop this height down just a bit? And yeah, we have tons of room to work with. Tons of room. So let's start dropping this down way earlier. And I think this actually works out even better because now we can have more than one connection in. Before, we would have been pretty limited on our connections, but now what we can do is essentially turn on our markers, make sure that these connections are being made, and the rest is completely up to us. So we'll, I think, send this up a bit and then just do a nice gentle curve into here. Okay, now in terms of upgrades, we have our platform roof, which I think we're definitely going to add. I mean, why wouldn't we? And we have our underground subway interface, which I don't think we're going to use because we don't really need it. Now I'm going to do a bit of terrain cleanup here because there's definitely some crazy things happening. This is where I think things are going to get a lot more tricky. We need to somehow take this subway track and run all the way right here, or even close to it. I think ideally though, it would be right here, just because we have the space open, and then we can leave the door open for the future to send it further down, and maybe even connect in some of these areas. There's only really one big road, and that's this one right here, which I don't want to run a subway track down. And I think also what we can do is leave the door open for the future for this to run across. So for now, we'll leave that there and try and figure out this mess. And after thinking it through, I think it pretty much has to go down Lilac Street. I feel like it's probably the best choice. It gives us the strongest potential to actually connect into here, although we would have to go across somewhere. So maybe we'd go across here and then curve into this road. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. I think that's kind of what we have to do. So from this point right here, we're gonna use our continuous curve, and I feel like we're probably gonna get way too close to our highway. And let's see, without anarchy, is that gonna work? It'll work. I'm actually kind of surprised. Now we could just run it right on top of this road. It will work as long as we use anarchy, but part of me feels like this road is just maybe a bit too small for this. So instead, what if we just grab one of these roads, any 2-lane road, we'll go into Road Builder, we'll decrease the sidewalk size, and I think we'll turn that to 4 meters. Actually, let's go to 3, because we're definitely gonna need a bit more room for this. Then we have our median in the middle, we'll increase that to 5. In terms of road size, it's 2.1 units, which means we're actually really close to the original road, and I think this is gonna work better. We're gonna try it out, we'll see. So I'll call it the 2-lane road with median. Then using our 2-lane road with median, we're gonna upgrade Lilac Street. And how far off are we? It just barely takes up a small amount of extra space, but I don't think it should impact any of these properties, which is something that I did want to see when doing this. So we'll carry this upgrade all the way until right about here. I'm gonna add in the subway track first because I still don't know how I'm gonna connect through to this. Okay, and given where we are right now, there's nothing actually out here. But I'll try and save the space for the future. Yeah, that's not happening. Okay, there we go. Like I said, we'll try and plan for the future. And I feel like if we're gonna have lines coming down into this area, we're definitely gonna have them coming back in. So we'll get that in for now. Okay, and now to bring back another tricky part. We'll upgrade this road all the way down. And maybe, just maybe, if we do a gentle enough curve, it's so close. It's so close, but it disturbs so much. And I feel like that right there is probably a bit too tight. If I had to guess, that's probably too tight. Yeah, I can't imagine a train kind of doing this movement. So I'm gonna assume that a subway maybe wouldn't do it either. So instead, I'm gonna start worrying about the actual subway station that'll go here. I think that'll help me think about this in a different way. Yeah, and it was probably a good thing that I thought about this first because they are all pretty big. Just looking at this, I feel like this one is going to be our best bet. It has this little elevated segment that'll go over the road. It has the ability to send the lines out in the future. So I'm going to place that there. I just want to confirm that everything is looking pretty good. It's all going to work. I mean, yeah, if you're a pedestrian, you'd have to walk through these pillars, but overall it's fine. And this surprisingly looks really, really nice. I don't know what it is about this little area, but it looks really nice. If we use our complex curve tool, and that's not bad. I could live with that. It is a bit unfortunate though, that we're cutting through some of these buildings like these ones. These are the ones that I want to try and preserve. These stores, I don't really care so much. I mean, we could probably just increase our height. And I can live with that. That's not that bad. This pillar going through this building is probably a bit bad though. So we'll definitely need to do a little bit of work there. And then this building's gonna need a road, and maybe I should have paid attention to see which side it actually fronted. I believe it's this side. I think we're just gonna do something just like that. We'll clean this up after. Okay, now similar to what we had last time, we'll have one train connection go to Old Monroe. It'll come all the way back in, and then we'll have one train connection go out to Buckfast. Could have sworn this was Mendon, but yeah, sure. And then this one will come right back in. Now these buildings will need power, so we'll need to connect these two roads in. And I think for now I'm just going to connect this into here because I really just want to see these things work. I don't think this will be our main connection into our train station, but I think I will keep it. We could probably do a bit of development here. For our main connection, I think I'd like to take a road directly from this one. Actually, let's send it all the way in. And I'm just shocked by the amount of weird things happening. What are these? Why is there an X here? Maybe it's to do with a sidewalk? I think for the meantime, we're gonna grab right here. We'll go up at a 90, and we're just gonna curve into this road and try and get something that's not too crazy in terms of slope. 2.7% is not bad at all. And then let's upgrade this back to be just a normal 2-lane. And then this building doesn't have any parking, so we're gonna give it some. And I think we're gonna go fairly big for this. Now I will make this road fronting our parking garage a one-way that goes directly into this road. And I think honestly, we might as well make this even more official. This will be a one-way too. Okay, so we have no vehicles. Why do we have no vehicles? We should definitely have vehicles. That shouldn't be a problem. Oh, and that makes so much sense. It's because we're using too many vehicles. I forgot our old lines had maybe 2 at most. Maybe even this one had 1. Let's change our ticket price down to $4 per line. And we have a diesel 4 car. I feel like that should be fine. I'd like to see one though. And yeah, I think that's fine. And I love how it's going past the industrial park. Feels very, very fitting. We even have a few passengers waiting, which is great. You'll love to see it. Already getting some line usage, 148 passengers on this line, not bad. And 0 on this one. Okay, so this one's not doing too well. We'll also make this a 4 car. Okay, and for my simpleton mind, I feel like this is probably gonna get tricky again, but honestly, I might just have a subway somewhere around here, or a subway depot, and then have it feed directly in. Okay, and that feeds directly into there. I think in a perfect world, this would be able to go all the way through, which it looks like it can. So we could continue this connection if we wanted to. All right, and then we need to give this building access to a road. Now let's grab our subway line tool. We've got about 2 lines that we can work with. And we're gonna have the first stop here, and we'll continue it all the way down. We'll stop at our hospital, and then we're going to stop right here, right at our last station, and then we're just going to double all the way back around. So 3 trains were thrown at this. Let's assign it to be 2. And I want to incentivize people to actually take our subway instead of driving. So we'll change the ticket price down to $2, and this gives us what looks to be a little tram. Okay, not bad. Oh, this person's running. They are running. They really want to get on this tram. Don't worry. The tram will wait for you. I mean the tram, the subway. That's going to be a difficult one for me. It's even got the little things on top. Oh wow, we actually have a fair amount of people down here too. And I believe they're going to get off and then probably transfer over here. And wow, people are leaving. They're ready to go. But they're also ready to get into the city as well, which is nice to see. Oh, wow. Holy, that's insane. How many people can fit on this car? 600? It's actually pretty good capacity. And we got people walking here too. Oh yeah, we got tons of insane amount of activity here. And only 1 car parked in this entire parking garage, which is actually just kind of great. It means people are using the transit that we have set up for them. I know I keep saying it, but it's actually really surprising to see all of these people coming to the train station. And where are all these people even going? So we have one person walking all the way from our train station to right here. Not ideal. And I have a feeling we're going to be reaching our max capacity pretty soon. I think we're definitely going to need to... Oh, whoa, whoa, what is going on? People are falling through. Oh, it's an elevator. Okay, that's pretty cool. It's obviously not the most beautiful implementation of it, but that's pretty cool. I'll give it to the creator. And this is honestly kind of bad to me. I'm at 4 times speed, and I'm only getting roughly 1.7 times. If I go to 1 times, I get slightly underneath it. Anywhere from 0.9 to 1 times, which is just surprising to see. It's honestly not that great. Anyways, I'm loving what we're seeing here. Tons of usage, tons of usage. I'm wondering if we can throw one more vehicle on here with the hope of improving our service. Maybe even this one too. I don't think we have enough trains for it, but we can try and add another one. I'm expecting to see not enough vehicles any second now. Oh, whoa, what's going on over here? Oh, it's a pretty big fire. That's a really big fire. How did it even catch fire? Okay, where's our fire engine? Okay, not too bad. Go faster. They only send 1 for this giant building? That's not enough. We need at least 3 of these. Okay, 5. Wow, I think this building's gonna be done. And they're just gonna head straight into the fire. And there we go. It's officially gone. Yeah, I think we all seen that coming. What is even the service for this? 1, 2, 3 fire stations, and we couldn't get more than a few vehicles out? That's really not all that great. I'm gonna rebuild it, but I'm gonna wait for these trees to stop burning down. In the meantime, where are more fire trucks? Like, we should definitely have way more fire trucks serving this area. Oh, here's some. And I think that's enough justification to add in our helipad to our fire station right here. No one likes it. Everyone gave it a thumbs down, but I think after witnessing that, we should definitely add something like that in. And let's add in the firefighting helipad for this one as well. There's a chance the university may not like the sound of it, but they're going to deal with it. Okay, we're good to rebuild this. And I think with this rebuild, we're going to add in an extra 10,000 gigabits and 500 meters of range. All right, now let's check back in, and we're actually losing passengers who are waiting. I wonder if the fire scared them off, so now people don't want to come here. Either way, for now, I'm actually really happy with how this area turned out, but I think we need to start justifying this. So all of this is extremely expensive, and the only way this works to me is if we increase our density here. And it's not the most ideal area. Like, being honest, it's really not. You have your industrial sector here, you have all of this noise, you have 2 tram depots, road maintenance, which shouldn't even be fronting this road. Bad decision on my part. You have this giant park maintenance building, which we're just gonna pull back a bit, just give some separation from the road. And yeah, so it's not the most ideal area, but we need to justify this somehow. And I think we're gonna start right here. And what I love about all of this is we can actually use these brand new Netherlands assets, and they're so nice. I feel like these are one of those assets where I don't mind to just zone it in. I really don't think I'm gonna get anything I don't like. Usually, for the most part, I'm plopping to control the heights because I don't want to see this building turn into something like this. It doesn't make sense. But I feel like the way they handled the growth in these assets was just outstanding. So I'm just gonna let it go wild. Let's see what it gives us. And right, most of these are 2 depth, so we're not gonna see anything too crazy. And I'm thinking maybe alongside here, we could probably see a bit more development too. And then right up here, we have this urban high school. And I think actually what I really wanna do, let's actually just grab a pedestrian road and get some type of park here. Otherwise, this is a great urban high school. I love it lots, but I feel like it needs just some type of park. So I think we could probably get away with this one right here. And I don't even really think there's that much work that we need to do with this. I think this can just be it. And then across from this, I think we're gonna use the Netherlands medium density housing. And then as we get closer to our tram depot, our road maintenance, our park maintenance, we're gonna swap over to low rent housing. So I can see this being subsidized housing. The great thing is it's right near public transit, so you don't need too much of a vehicle to really live here. Plus you have a high school, you have a park. There should be shops all along these roads. Tons of good stuff here for people. And then maybe to separate these two areas, so we'll have our low rent here, and then we'll swap back to our medium density alongside this road. And then as we get closer to our train station, I want to step up our density just a bit. All right, now before I continue and do anything else, I'm noticing there's crime happening over here, and that's because I didn't assign this a district. Not a very big surprise with me, I feel like. Kind of always feels like I'm forgetting some of the most basic things. And I think to make this simple, I'm just gonna extend Raven Rock End all the way to the highway. Okay, now this should have all of the services that this area had. And yep, that's looking pretty good. Now back over here, I want to rework this road a little bit. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this. And that's interesting. I forgot this was a turnaround for the trams. So I'll need to keep that in mind. But I want to continue this road all the way down. And at the very least, maybe connect into here. And then we'll stop the connection here because this is just for our subway depot. There we go. It won't be the most elegant little intersection here, but I think it should be fine. What this does is it opens up a bunch more space, and I think we can do something a little bit different over here just to make it feel kind of unique. And then I forgot to mention this, but I added in one of these parking buildings right here. I think this is such a cool little feature. Have all this parking back here, and it fits in with all the assets as well. It's so nice. It's just one of those small things that just feels so right. Right now this area is a bit out of scale, and it will improve as these level up, and we'll do a little bit more density as well. And we're definitely gonna have to increase the density over here, but I don't wanna get too ahead of myself. So let's create a few little buildings alongside this road. We're probably gonna go with a mix of commercial, maybe some taller apartment buildings, but not quite on this level, and a bit of office, because I feel like we could definitely use some office over here. And I think that's actually what we're gonna start with, is a little office park. And I think we're gonna have it right here. It's not gonna be the most valuable office park, but it is a office park, and that's really all we care about at this point in time. So I want to grab our wide alley because this is what we'll use to make our connections into here. One thing I like to do for these more office park type areas is just get rid of the road decals. I feel like they're a bit too much, and this is kind of exactly what we want anyways. And it's gonna be a bit repetitive, but that's kind of how these parks usually are. And this will do it for our little office park. Probably should have checked to see how many jobs we were increasing before, but we're at roughly 1,297. It's about 1,800 residents, so maybe something we need to work towards. But we only really have 1,300 adults and seniors combined, so we're actually not too bad for our pipeline for employment. And we'll detail all this up later on to make it look a little bit better. And immediately, this company is already having high resource costs, which is a bit frustrating, and it's storing 4 tons of concrete, which is honestly super weird. I'm just gonna delete this and replace it in. Okay, and hopefully this one doesn't have any issues, and immediately it stores 4 tons of concrete. I don't get it. Yeah, this one immediately has high resource costs, and I'm also noticing that some of these aren't even filled in yet. As you can tell, I'm clearly a data expert. Here's our office wealth, and it's slowly increasing. There's a small little dip there though, but nothing to be concerned about. And so what would this business need? This business would need electronics and software. Okay, so maybe what we can do to accommodate some of that is let's try and zone in some storage. Let's try clean warehouse. And yeah, we're not gonna get anything. So instead, let's pull this back a bit, and we're gonna zone this area for some clean industrial. So this clean industrial manufacturing can produce electronics. And let's see, in this one we have pharmaceuticals, we have food in this one, we have paper in this one, and electronics in this one. Okay, so electronics, at least we got one that we needed. I'll take that as a win. Now we're gonna do some major improvements to our tram network in this area, and we're gonna keep the one by Madison We'll keep the tram to the harbor. I think we're also going to need to send a bus here because right now we do only have this tram stopping at the harbor and then coming back here. So I think ideally we'd send a bus maybe from here. We just need to get the people that live in this area down to the harbor as well, instead of just these people. And this opportunity for a transfer right here might be the best way to do it. Or maybe we'll just make it double faceted. So we'll have a bus that comes down here, makes the exact same stop as the tram. And we can have maybe a bus that goes here. I don't know yet. I know the first thing that we need to do though is get rid of all these trams. And interestingly enough, in Better Bulldozer, it's considered as a prop filter, so that makes this pretty easy. Okay, now aside from the ones in Madison, in the marina, and by our harbor, that's pretty much a full reset. Now to give us an even bigger clean slate, I want to convert all of these roads to not have tram tracks, just so I can see what I'm actually doing. Otherwise, it just makes it a bit more confusing. Okay, and there's our clean slate. So now we can see that the only trams we have are the ones that run alongside this road. And even though they're actually gone, I still want to treat it as if they're still somewhat here. So maybe we'll reuse some of them. And let's take a look at what we got here. So we have our 2 tram depots right here. These feed this road. And this road is pretty much our main connector for all of our trams. So this is the road that all of our trams will get sent away from. Now, one of the big pieces of feedback I got when I first put the trams in Birch Heights was that I'm making them a loop, and that would cost more in infrastructure. So I'm gonna try and not do this as much as possible. It just loops are so satisfying. And a big piece of this is trying to maximize our transfer opportunities. So where are people going? Where do they wanna go? Where are they coming from? And the train station is gonna be a big one, obviously. But I do have the transit to come all the way over here and make a stop here. So that's not something that we really need to solve. Most of our transit is heading that way right now in the form of subways and a train station. So we need to get people to these destinations. And what I'm thinking is the first one we'll add back in is just a loop down this road. So we'll start right here. It'll go up and around, come back down into here. We'll send this back in. So now it can loop back around and complete the route. Then we'll send this all the way down. And I think we're gonna stop maybe right here, because if I can avoid it, I don't want any more trams on this road right here. Then we'll add the infrastructure in right here. So this is essentially moving 2 different areas together. So now we're gonna add our stops, and I think most of them are just gonna be on this road. And we'll start right here. We'll make sure Anarchy's on because I don't want to lose any of our props or our detailing. And this is an elementary school, so I definitely think we want to do at least something here. And the road is right here. So I'll put the stop right here instead, kind of further away from the road. And then because it loops back around here, it won't actually go on this road. So then we'll add in one here. Let's make a stop right here, right in front of these businesses. And we're getting into our density as well. We'll have another stop in front of these businesses. Then finally, we'll make our last one there on this side. And now I want to connect this in just so I can kind of see what's happening. And I'm going to call this Birch Heights Line 1, River Street. And again, we want our transit to be accessible. So we'll make it $2. And I feel like 2 vehicles is fair, so I'll leave it there. And again, like I was mentioning, it feels like most of our issues are pointing north. So we need to bring people up to these areas or down. Then right here on Washington Street, I feel like it's gonna be the next best place for some trams because it's gonna come up, it'll stop somewhere alongside here, it'll loop back around, come back down, and maybe we'll loop around here. I would like to keep them off of Rosecliff Street if I can, but I don't know if there's gonna really be that opportunity. And so to accomplish this, we need to get our trams down here. And actually we need to get our trams here anyways. And we're gonna add our tram tracks down, probably all the way down this road for now. And then we'll add them in down to here as well. Given how short this line is, it's probably not gonna be the most optimal and the most efficient, but I still think it should do the trick. Now for our stops, we definitely need one right beside our subway. Now the only problem I have is ideally it would be on this side, so there's no crossing streets. You just get off the tram and you're ready to go. So I think we'll start right there. So we'll stop here, and then that'll be our line. Again, we'll call it Birch Heights Line 2, Washington Street. We'll set our ticket price to 2, and I think, again, 2 vehicles should do. And I'll set it to be green for now. And then I think vertically, all we're missing is 1 for this road. We do have our buses going down here, but honestly, I think we need to rework our buses as well. It's kind of all over the place. So I'm going to delete all of our bus stops as well, and people are going to give me a bunch of thumbs down, and it's really going to hurt my feelings. And so this is the Birch Heights Line 3, and it essentially goes all the way around these roads. I think I'm actually fine with this line. I don't like how it's on Rosecliff, but I think for the most part, this one can stay. I think we will delete line 1 though. Okay, so now our bus lines are gone as well. So let's swap back to trams. And right now it's pretty much all about that vertical movement. And there's these 2 roads that we can play off of. And this road doesn't really have all that much on it, but it is a slightly bigger road with a bit more room. This road is smaller, but it does have a whole lot more on it. So my mind tells me this road, but my heart tells me this road. And we'll turn right here. We'll come all the way down this road. Again, to stay off of our main road, we'll do the loop right here. So we'll continue down this road. We'll loop back in. So we're coming up the right side. Let's, I guess, make our loop right here. And I might want to upgrade this road right here. I'm not sure how well it's going to work though. So let's grab just a normal 2-lane road, and then we'll add in our tram tracks. We'll set the middle lane to be shared car and bus. So now we're at 2.8 units, and we need to decrease it just a bit. We don't want parking on these roads anyways, because it would impede the flow of our trams and also make it less safe for pedestrians. So what if we drop this down to, let's say, 4 units? Can we make that work? 4 units gives us 2.5. Let's try 3.5 for both the lane widths, and that gives us 2.4, and I think we should be able to work with that. We'll call it the Birch Heights Tram Road. We can just barely fit it in. We might need to do a little bit of work to make it actually happen, but I think I'm pretty much okay with this. So let's upgrade this all the way down. And then ideally, the tram tracks would be on the outside of this road, not the inside. Now finally, we can add in our tram tracks that go around just on this side. It'll loop back through here. We don't need them on this side. All right, then it comes back up, and I believe our loop was right here. So we don't need them on this side, because we'll just go back up and around. And because our trams are coming from this way, we'll start our line here. Again, $2, and we're just gonna change the color to really anything. I'm not too worried about it. Okay, now this gives us some really important movements here. Now there is one big movement that I do wanna cover, and that's this way, kind of mirroring our subway. And this would really be for local people who live in the area, or people who wanna get to the train station and maybe they're down here. And so I think the way to do this is first, I'm gonna upgrade this section. We'll do our loop around, and that'll be the first piece. And is this road just too tight? It seems like this might just be a bit too tight. So we'll use manipulation mode, hold Alt, pull it back, and we'll do the same thing with these ones as well. Really just trying to gentle up this turn. I just want to make sure when I add it in this time, will it work naturally? Yes, it will. Perfect. All right, then we come down this road. We go all the way straight through, and we're going to reach this point. And this, it looks to be a parking lot. So it's a parking lot road, which makes this even a bit more complicated for me because I don't want to, as long as I don't stop here, I think I'll be fine with it. It's either that or we go up this pedestrian street, which to me almost makes more sense anyways. Yeah, we'll go up this pedestrian street, and it looks like it's not going to make the connection. And interestingly enough, it'll only upgrade on one side. It's a bit odd. And then again, once we're past here, we have another parking lot road to contend with, so we're going to go right past it. We're going to connect into this one, and then we're just going to go all the way up, around, and back in. And I've seen a few problems, mostly this one right here, and I'm wondering if I can just take the one way and add it in. No, I can't. So we'll click this and we'll use as a template. And I think the only way around this is to reduce the median size. Can we get it to be about 2 meters? We can. I think we could probably just add trees back on after. And then we can add another track. It is a bit bigger than the previous configuration, but overall I think it should be fine. And unfortunately, the only thing that'll actually work to get rid of most of the jank at the very least is to just completely remove the pedestrian side of the road, which is unfortunate, but it's going to be the only way I can think about adding this in and maintaining the same style right here. This building won't function anymore because it was fronting the pedestrian road. So we'll give that a flip around. And we'll have to do a bit of work later on to get that looking a little bit better. Either way though, we did our loop. Now we're going back down and we just need to connect in these two. All right, and I believe that should be everything. Okay, and so we'll want to stop here, but unfortunately, again, the trams are on the wrong side. I need them to be on the left side. And because I'm bad at names, I'm gonna call this one left tram, 2 lane, 1 way. Brilliant if you ask me, it's brilliant. And we'll upgrade this all the way down, and this allows us to put our tram stop on this side, so that passengers don't have to worry about crossing the road. And then we're gonna get a bit more density here. So we'll have another stop there. Honestly, ideally our school will be a more prominent place. I don't know if this route would be used for that though, but I'm gonna assume it would be. So I'll delete that one and place the stop here instead. It'll turn into this road. We'll have a stop in front of these shops. And this looks like a pretty good transfer opportunity. So we'll make a stop right there as well. And I believe this is our medical clinic for Birch Heights. So we'll definitely wanna stop here too. We'll stop in front of these buildings, and this is a pretty far distance, so we'll add another one in right here. And then we need to start making this loop. So as we start making this loop, I think we might actually make one stop at our post office, and then we'll just loop back around, and we're gonna do all of this over again. Okay, and I believe that was our last route for now. And because it's been paused, we can actually take a look at some of our ridership. So we're getting about 22,000 per month. And I'm hoping to see that number improve with more relevant routes. And same as always, we'll drop down the vehicles to 3 and a ticket price of 2 and just anything else other than pink. Now in terms of coverage, I'd say we're pretty much set. The transfer opportunities are pretty solid. And I believe we'll still need to rework in this line because I don't think it'll be active anymore. And yeah, there's no line here. And also, as I'm noticing, there's also no way to get into one of these roads. And so to service this area, we're going to upgrade this road with tram tracks as well. And in the future, when we develop this area, we're definitely going to want to add in, a bit of density to justify this. But we'll take our tram tracks all the way from this road all the way into here. And again, that's just one connection into this road. Let's give 2 more because we'll actually need these to service this area for our tram. And this one is just backup just in case. Now I did delete the line to our harbor. So I'm going to add that back in, and I think what we're going to need first is some tram tracks to go down this road and alongside here as well, because we're going to try and improve this a bit. So the tram will come down this road, it'll make its first stop into here, it'll go all the way to, I believe this is on the wrong side, or it doesn't really matter because we can do switching, but still I'd rather prefer everything to be on the right side. We'll stop at our harbor, we'll make our stop over here, another one here, and then we'll loop back in. And then it looks like we did have a stop right here that we can activate. So we'll try and reuse what we already have. And as we get closer to here, again, we'll try and reuse what we already have. I don't think this is the most ideal stop, but it should work. And again, we make our stop over here. So let's do one more. We come into the harbor, we come all the way back down. Let's say we'll also have a stop here and then right in front of our park. And we'll call it the Birch Heights Line 5, Rosecliff Street. $2 and minimum of 3 vehicles. We might increase this because I feel like this one might have a bit more demand. We'll make it, I don't know, something like a green because why not? All right, now it's time to let things play out for a second. All right, now for this bus station, there's 2 primary routes that's still active after I deleted the other ones. It goes to the bus station over here, which is almost redundant now because we have the subway. and we have the one that goes to the marina. There's definitely one more I want to make, and that's right into here, right into Rosecliff Street. And ideally what I'd like to do is I'd like to grab one of the routes from our bus station, which is over here. Let's see what is open. It seems like this one's open right here. And then we'd send it all the way down to our harbor. And ideally there'd be a place for it to stop in here. So I'm gonna worry about that after. First, I'm gonna send this back into our bus station down here. Now I'm just gonna call it bus station to harbor. And wow, 4 vehicles seems a bit overkill. And I'll make it a nice dark blue, as in water, because it's going to the harbor. And was there an upgrade to actually add in transit? There is. Is that gonna impact anything else that we have going on? Not that I can tell. So we're gonna add it in, and it did. Oh no. Why does it add this? Okay, we can work around this. We can work around this for sure. Something kind of like that. And then we'll just cover up some of these extra spots that got missed a bit. Is it perfect? No. But does it kind of fit in? Kind of, yeah, kind of. All right, now that we got this, we can just send this directly into here. So that should stop there. And I'm thinking we should probably add one for our other bus station in Birch Heights. Maybe not the most efficient use because we already have our trams running there, but more options for transit. I can't see that being a bad thing. And we'll give it a bit more space, so we'll send it right here instead. And then just straight back into our bus station to finish it off. And we'll just call it the Birch Heights line number 3, station to harbor. Again, we're gonna make the ticket price $2. We're gonna drop the vehicles down as much as we possibly can, and we will make it a dark blue. All right, and that's gonna be it for our transit for now. I want to replace this crematorium with the Netherlands one because it fits so much better. Right off the bat, we have our additional car parks, so we're gonna add them in. And I just think that makes this area just stand out a little bit better. I really do like it. Such a big improvement compared to the other one. It's just a bit too fancy. That's really the only issue that I have with the other one. Now we added in a bunch of transit, and again, we gotta do some more justification here, so let's find some of our lower density buildings and start upgrading. And this one is the one that stands out to me. It's an office with 163 employees. So let's try and replace it with something that ideally has the same amount of employees, but just has a bigger footprint. So we'll add this one in. It's pretty massive, much, much bigger, but we need to make this skyline stand out a bit more because right now it's feeling a bit puny. Of course, this building has no parking and we do need to consider it at the very least. And honestly, I kind of just want to hide it in here. And while we're doing this redevelopment, I figure we might as well just turn this into something. And it looks like we can probably just get the passage park in here. It'll be a bit janky, but let's delete these fences. And then we just need to connect this path in. And I think that's pretty much it. And there we go. And then we don't really have a crazy amount of space here, but I'm thinking we could probably put one of these office buildings right there. Honestly, maybe we could just combine 2 of them. Yeah, I think 2 looks a little bit nicer. And then maybe just one of these commercial buildings right there. Now, next up for redevelopment, I'm looking at these 2 stores right here. And although I do like the character it gives, I feel like they're probably like prime opportunity to improve the density here. And I'm just thinking, what if we did something like that? I like these 2 buildings. I think they fit. Let's get rid of these smaller commercial buildings. And the better part is now we can even justify this tram stop here a little bit more. Yeah, I think that works. And wow, that's not a lot of employees. I kind of would have liked to see more, just given how big these buildings are. So I think something that we could do is we could technically make these mixed use. Not actually, but we technically could with our zoning blocks. So let's add this in and we'll set this pretty far back right there. We'll do the same thing with this one. And now it's both high density commercial and high density office. And I need to find this block so I can place the entrance. And this one's providing 56 jobs, that's great. And this one is providing 42. So now there's significantly more employment opportunity from these 2 redevelopments. And it looks like we're missing power for these. I don't know how I missed that. Okay, now I don't see any reason why these shouldn't work, so I'm gonna leave them be for now. And that was quick because we're already running into our next problem. We have low supplies. I'm really interested to see this, and I don't get what the issue is. So it has the upkeep of 17 kilograms of pharmaceuticals per month, and it's not showing me its storage, which is problematic because I can't see how much it has on hand. It's not really like we can manage our supply chain all that well, so let's take a look at our production though. We'll try. We have a surplus of 180 tons of pharmaceuticals every single month. So this is just an issue of them getting the actual pharmaceuticals to this area, and I would zone in some storage, but it doesn't work. Yeah, they just refuse to play ball. We should be manufacturing some pharmaceuticals over here. I would try and find out, but I can barely click on them. Yeah, so we aren't manufacturing any pharmaceuticals over here. What we can do is we can add a bit more manufacturing capacity here with our clean industrial manufacturing, and hopefully we'll get pharmaceuticals. And that's really all we can do, just because we don't have any demand for warehousing. Otherwise, I would literally just put some warehouse space right here. And speaking of that, I think what should go here right now is parking, because this is a massive hospital. Like this is a massive building. It has the capacity for 650 patients and has 100 employees. So we definitely need to increase the parking here. And I'm pretty much happy with that. That should cover the parking needs. This has 220 spots. So together these have 440, and that almost covers the capacity that we'd have for our patients. I'd really like to see this building fix its medical supplies though. And wow, this park has another issue. It should be connected. There's no reason it shouldn't be connected. Okay, and there definitely was a reason why it shouldn't be connected. It was on the wrong side. But now it is on the right side, and now everything should just work. All right, now let's quickly check our pipeline for education. We have a really big capacity in high school, so we don't got to worry about that. Elementary, we're slightly behind, and I'm going to take a guess and say, yeah, it's Raven Rock End, and we should be able to add an elementary school somewhere around here. And actually, let's take a look at our Netherlands assets, because I believe we should have got one. And we got the Netherlands Elementary School. And this is a really nice asset. I could maybe see this being right here. It's a bit close to this arterial, but it should be fine. And we're gonna set this to only operate in Maplewood, Valley Brook, and Raven Rock End. I'm hoping this will have enough for this area, but let's take a look at our upgrades. We have this extension wing, and we need to take out a house, but I think it might be worth it. And there we go, that gives us an extra 500, not bad. And then we have this adventure playground, which is just so cool. Just look at that detail. This is something that makes it feel real to me. This sells it. This sells that this is an elementary school. Really, really love that. In Maplewood, we only have 265 children. In Raven Rock End, we only have 942. And then Valley Brook, what are we looking at? So yeah, we're just barely on the edge. Probably should add a little bit more capacity. There we go. So now this can hold 2,500 students, which is significantly more than this area actually has. So maybe we start thinking about adding a few buildings right here too. So we're gonna level out right here because I'd really love to get some buildings on this hill. Oh wow, we need this in our downtown. We need this building. This is exactly what I've been looking for. How big is it? It's a 6x4. And this is our low rent housing, I believe. So this would be a pretty big impact. And I think we'd probably take out the smaller one first. This is residential, so they serve the same purpose. We're not removing any housing. In fact, we'd be adding a significant amount. And I think that's our new highest building. And I just want to get rid of this blue color. Not really a big fan of it. There we go. All right, now back to over here. I think this Europe residential building is actually perfect. And then we'll just take some Netherlands medium density housing, place it right into here, and maybe if we're lucky we can get something to fill in there. Yeah, we can. At the very least, this does help justify all that extra capacity that we added to our elementary school, and we're almost full already. And it's because I didn't set an operating district. That makes so much sense. Now increasing our density just a bit more, we have this building right here, and it fits perfectly into this little square. There we go. I think that fits in really nicely. We're getting close to wrapping up, so let's take a quick look at our services in Lower Birch just to make sure that all of this new density that we added isn't going to be impacted by bad services. And we can see that our healthcare is kind of an issue. Police seems to be a bit of an issue as well. Doesn't seem too bad, but it's definitely something we can improve. For fire, we're set. Right here is not set though. In terms of high schools, we're fine. I feel like where our problem might come from is our elementary, so we'll need to add an elementary, a police station, a medical clinic, maybe a post office as well. And we have this historical post office that I think is just really, really nice. Yeah, so we'll place it right about there. In terms of operating districts, it's a bit of a tricky one for me. I think I'm just gonna do this entire area, but we won't extend past this. Then we have our second post office, which is covering most of this as well, but also some of this. And there's another post office down here, I believe. We do have an upgrade, and it's for the museum, which, let's see, what is it doing? It's just essentially giving us something at the back, which I think looks really nice. In fact, I might actually retract my idea of centering it in the middle and instead get it closer to the right. Because now what we can do is we can snap onto the side, and then from here we can do a complex curve into this road. And that breaks up some of the monotony of our grid, and then maybe we'll connect into here as well. And that gives us a nice little unique plot right there to do something special with. Anyways, back to our services. So we have our post office. We just need to actually add in the mailboxes. Wow, that actually improved our post so well that we don't even really need to. Okay, so post is taken care of. Let's move on to medical. And we have this Netherlands small medical clinic, which I think is gonna treat us really nicely. So we're gonna place this in. I think we'll just place that right there, just to keep it simple. What I'm noticing though is the gray really fades in and matches with this gray as well. So it doesn't even look like a building's there if you take away the shadows. Doesn't have any upgrades, that's fine. We're gonna set this to only operate in Lower Birch. Doesn't need to operate anywhere else. And last but not least, we had our police coverage. And again, we have our Netherlands police station, which I just love. Just looking at this, it feels like it could be almost any other building. And we're gonna place this one closer to this road, but not directly on it. So we'll do something like that. And for upgrades, we have our investigation unit, and then we have our administrative wing. I don't know if we really need it though. No, in terms of police, we're doing perfectly fine in this area now. So we will hold off. We will set this to operate in Lower Birch, maybe Lithia Square as well. I think that's probably gonna be it. And actually, while we're up in Lower Birch, let's take a look to see where the nearest elementary school would be. Yeah, so it's this one and this one. I definitely think we could probably add in just one more. Honestly, I think ideally I'd love to get this off of Main Street, or really just any road that isn't exclusively for the elementary school. I'm gonna use a one-way road, and we'll say they enter in from here. And let's add an upgrade just so we see how much room we need. And maybe we could even send this just a bit further down. And now we'll curve into this road, and then we'll just add our connection in from here. Now I'd only want to see people who are going to this elementary school use this road. It makes it the slightest bit safer. And we'll set this to only operate in Lower Birch, maybe Upper Birch as well. I don't think it'd really be a necessary thing to happen, but we'll let the spillover happen. In Lower Birch, as of right now, there's only 482 children. We're gonna do a bit of justification here, and we're gonna add in a bit of Netherlands housing, or Netherlands row housing. Okay, and that's where I'm going to stop for now. I decided to rework this area just quite a bit, to be honest. It was a bit too wide, a bit too long. Let's take a quick check on our transit and see what those numbers look like. So our tram numbers have actually went down. Yeah, so I definitely think this needs a little bit more time to bake in the oven because eventually these numbers will increase. For right now, they're going down, but I'm still fine with it. We added a whole new method of transportation, which to me makes sense why we might see some decline on the other ones. For our subway, we have 9,000 per month, supposedly according to the game, which isn't all that bad. 300 passengers, or 269 now, 14% usage. I did add 6 trains to it just to maximize it out because we had, I think it was like 90% usage. And so I just added the extra ones. But yeah, for now, this is what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna call it here. I'm gonna move over to detailing. And for detailing, there's definitely a bit of cleanup that I wanna get done. Really make these areas feel integrated with the rest of the environment. Because right now they do kind of stick out a bit. But I do wanna be careful because these buildings will level up and things will change. But yeah, it's been a crazy one. It feels like there's so much done. It feels like this Ashland has changed so much. Anyways, let's jump into detailing. I'm pretty happy with how everything turned out. I think it came out a lot nicer than I was expecting when I first started. I just started filling in things with paths, and some areas got parking, some areas didn't. It really depends on the slope and the space. Decided to turn this into a little walkway. Maybe a little too many bushes, but it should do. I also did a bunch of zoning, cleaned up this part. This was trees for the longest time. I don't know why I just didn't put a park through here, or kind of like a walking space. Makes a bunch of sense to me. I decided to make this somewhere that you could walk around. Maybe you're gonna mourn, or maybe you're planning options, at least you can do it outside, somewhere nice. Then over here, decided to add a bunch more zoning, just really get things filled out. Split this block in half, removed the forest that was here, and did a little bit of detailing on this elementary school. And here, again, just mostly cleaned this stuff up. Actually finished it off for at least the most part. Just ignore this. There, now it's finished, 100%, definitely. Over here, again, more paths. Added in a bunch of gazebos through here. My thought process is that at least you could come sit down if you were working, cross the street, get away from the stressful environment, and sit in the green space and just enjoy your time, and then eventually go back to work. Added in some of the row housing here. I think it's actually a pretty nice addition. Then over here by our subway station, we have these small little memorials, I believe they are. I'm not 100% sure, but I added them in. They're part of the Netherlands cemetery pack, if I recall correctly, and I needed something that I could place down that would be a sub-asset from an actual main asset. That way it doesn't require power, and I don't need to go through and grab each individual prop and try to align it perfectly. So this worked out pretty well. Have some nice areas to grab some food, sit down, do whatever you want to do. And then just finally deleted the surface for this little area right here. It was sad. Eventually I planned on adding whatever was here back, but not anymore. So let's jump into a quick before and after. And that's a wrap. That was one long episode, and if you made it this far, thanks for sticking around. And thanks to Shane Builds for helping me brainstorm the transit in this episode. He makes some amazing maps, so if you're looking for something new to build on, definitely check out his stuff. As always, super big shout out to our amazing Patreon members, Jake Hill, Gary Key, Deku, Ganger, Griffin, De Alpha Supreme, and Javante Mormon. Really big thank you. If you haven't already, a like, comment, and subscription really go a long way. And other than that, I'll see you in the next one.